Heck yeah, guys. I got my aristocrat cards chilling out over here.
Hey, y'all. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Woohoo! We're here.
It's Tuesday.
Vibing with the chill music.
Awesome. Yeah.
Happy Tuesday. Okay. So exciting. We have guest speaker Daxton Page here talking on this morning's live, and we're going to be talking about email. How to use email as an independent artist, and why is that important? Well, email is the number one strategy that can get you paid. So we're over here being a financially free artist, and we don't know the strategies to get us paid. How crazy is that? So we need to know. We need to know what you know, Daxton. We need to know.
Let's dive into it. Where would you like to start?
Well, okay, first of all, people need to know a little bit about you, and they may know you, they may not, but you are an independent musician. What I love about you is you are doing the thing right now as you coach it. So you're also a very entrepreneurial, investor-minded musician. So if you want to get paid as an independent musician, you're the person to listen to. Basically, is what we need to know here. And you sold tens of thousands of merch sales and over hundreds of thousands of streams. Like, no, you're doing the thing. So one of the things that we talked about in the post that I posted yesterday was a lot of musicians and indie artists are just like taking their machete and chopping away in the wrong direction and putting all this energy and effort out there, and and not getting the results. So what is the one thing that you wish artists knew to prioritize?
That's a great question. I think the one thing that artists really need to know is how to communicate well. Storytelling and being able to connect with your audience is such a powerful tool. So a lot of people, like I've seen artists do this where they're posting videos of them playing their song in their bedroom or in their house somewhere, and they're not getting out of the 250 view zone, and that's always really frustrating. But if we're able to wrap our music in a story, basically we're able to communicate to our audience why this song is worth your time, then all of a sudden now people will start paying attention because you're giving them a reason to care. I mean, people are busy. They've got their own stuff going on and they like what they like. And so sometimes getting them to like a new artist, there's something that needs to pull them towards you. And the story can be one of those things that helps attract people to you. So I think artists would do so much better in their music career if they studied persuasion, communication, storytelling, sales, generally speaking. That stuff is so powerful. I've utilized it not only just online with email marketing, but you can utilize this live if you're playing in front of an audience. There's certain words and phrases and strategies that you can use to be more persuasive, to sell more. So yeah, I think communication is the number one skill that artists really need to cultivate, for sure.
Yeah. And communication is key. And communication, connection is currency.
Like
All the great C words, community. So what's the number one thing that you wish artists knew about storytelling? Like, what's the number one thing you wish?
You've got to think about the story of your music from the perspective of what is going to be like the most relatable to other people. For instance, when we were at your summit, we were talking about being financially free musicians at your summit, which was really cool. We started talking about your music, right? And we started diving into, okay, why did you write this song? And as you start telling that story, we were able to identify, see right there, when you were talking about that, I went somewhere in my brain where I was like, oh, I've been through the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. So we kind of have to have this little two minds at the same time thing where we're thinking about, okay, why did I write this? And you start going through that. But it's like meditation. In meditation, you're taught to not participate in the thought, but to just let the thoughts go.
Yeah.
It's like a meditation a little bit. You think to yourself, why did I write this song? And then you analyze, okay, why did I write this song? And then as you recognize, oh man, I bet a bunch of people have been through that, have experienced that. That is the key thing to lean into with your storytelling, because me is boring, boring,
Yeah.
boring. So when you can relate it to the experiences of other people, that's the most powerful thing. So finding relatability, I guess another little bonus thing equally as important is generating curiosity. You know, the hook, the first few seconds of a video is the most important moment of your video. That's the moment where someone's scrolling either is going to stop or they're going to keep on scrolling. And the thumb, it's got a momentum.
Yeah, it does. Just keeps on going.
It just keeps going. So like it takes something to make us stop. One thing that's good to do for yourself as a strategy is figure out what makes you stop on social media. So if you're ever sitting there going through on social media and you're scrolling and you stop, ask yourself, why did I stop? Was it the headline? Was it the words of the headline, or the fact that it was in big red letters? Like, what was the thing that made me stop? And sometimes those little subtle details can be insanely impactful when you go to re-engineer them in your own content. You know, now you can sit there and say, okay, well, I'm going to try red headline and see if that gets people to stop. That's something I used in my own content creation for a while, as I would test what color headlines were like getting people to stop. And red is a really good one because red's, you know, it kind of means stop, generally speaking.
It does.
So having red text or a red bubble around your text, I felt like that was really helpful, just getting people to stop for a second. That's a subtle detail, because really the meat of what's going to get people to stop is it interesting? Is it exciting? Is it building curiosity? I'll give you a quick example. One time I was doing a piece of content for my band that did really well, and it was literally just the first few seconds was we messed up really bad, and that was the first few seconds. Now people are like, well, what did they mess up? Some people don't even know that we're a band, but they're like, somebody messed up. I want to hear about it.
Yeah.
You know, and then I start going into like, oh man, we spent all this money on this song and we want more people to hear it, you know? And so we kind of we leveraged that little curiosity hook into talking about the music, into telling a story about, it wasn't an in-depth story, but it was something that was just kind of quick, like, oh yeah, we have this song, check it out, boom, here's the song. So you can make it kind of a quick piece of content that gets right to the point within 10 seconds. You can have a nice, elaborate story. There's a country artist. Oh, his name is escaping me at the moment. I bet people on TikTok would know exactly who I'm talking about. He's a younger gentleman. He's got a mustache, and he always wears a ball cap. And he's sitting in his car, and he's talking, for instance, about mental health, specifically mental health from a man's perspective. Like, this is what it's like being a man in this day, you know. And then he goes through, and at the end of that, jumps into the song. Like the song was basically waiting for him in his car stereo. And right when he got to the most emotional part of what he was talking about, that's when it hit play and it went to the chorus of his song. And that post got like 15 million likes because it was talking about something that was really like resonating with a lot of people, you know. People were dealing with mental illness and struggling with, you know, depression and things like that, you know. It's building this story, this connection, because a lot of people know someone who's gone through that or have gone through that themselves, and they're invested in the story. And by the time the story is at its climax, he introduces the song, and the song hits 1 billion times harder than if he just posted the chorus. You know, it could have been a good post, you know, he posted the chorus and some people may have gotten it, but that story and talking about and just being authentic about how you feel about a certain situation, maybe that's what inspired you to write a particular song. So you can sit in that passion that you have about that subject. And that can maybe that can be the basis of a story that attracts people into your content. So I know I kind of bulldozed through like 3 or 4 different things there, but yeah, those
Take
are
notes, guys. That was gold right there. And if you need to take notes, write them down. So here's the thing that I see. So a lot of artists I know get overwhelmed with social media or with email. It's like, which one do I do? Do I do social media? Do I do email? Obviously, you know, we know the answer is both, but that just sounds so overwhelming. Let's just say you have a post that goes viral on social media. The best thing to do is bring them into your email list. So what's that process like for artists? You know, what have you done with artists and / have you done with your band?
Mm-hmm.
How do
Yeah.
you utilize this process.
So
And
that's
without the overwhelm.
yes, without overwhelm, for sure. There's a couple easy things that you can do or to get people into your list with minimal tech setup and minimal resistance and things like that.
Yeah.
One thing is whatever your email service provider is. For instance, mine is MailChimp. So you can create a landing page with your MailChimp that, like, as soon as they go to it, they just put in their information and boom, they're in the list, right? So one thing you can do is you can put a link in like your bio and then drive traffic to the link in the bio. I like also, if it's possible, certain platforms, it's easier to achieve than others, but like comment below and I'll send you a link.
Yeah, I like that one too.
That one is really powerful. So like if you have a keyword, you know, let's say you're a rock band, you're like, drop the word rock in the comments and we'll send you a link to join our email list and we'll throw in a free bonus for you. And maybe that free bonus is like an MP3 of your newest single, or maybe it's like a demo of an old popular single that you've had, or something that's free and easy for you to fulfill. We don't want you to have to like stress too much if people are like, they join, now I got to go do stuff, you know.
Yeah.
I try to automate that as much as possible. I use the landing page software that has kind of made my life a lot easier in that regard, where people can go to landing page, they put in their information, it automatically adds them to my email list, and I get them their gift that I promised them on the next page once they submit. So something like that can be nice. It can streamline it for you, and the setup is really easy. A lot of these landing page sites have templates. Use the templates.
Yeah.
Don't feel the need to start from blank canvas, because as artists, you guys know, starting from blank canvas is tough.
Yeah.
But when you got some inspiration or something to work off of, it's way easier to fill in the details. So I like the strategy of like, hey, DM or comment this word and we'll send you the thing. Boom, they go and join your list. Easy as pie. Now they're in the list, and all you have to do now to communicate with them is start sending them some emails.
Okay, cool. So you have this post that goes viral. It was a great story. People comment on it. They get to the landing page. They put in their email. You give them a free gift. Now what?
Now it's time to follow up and start building that connection between artist and fan. So there's two different types of sequences that I would recommend. Okay. One of them is you're just like casual. You can, I don't want to say daily because I know that will overwhelm people, but it does not have to be daily. It could be weekly. It could be however frequent you want to be able to like condition your audience to get that response from you. It's email. You can get away with once a day, but I know the workload for some people is like, eh. So anyway, you have this Seinfeld sequence is what I've heard it being called. And I love that term because have you ever watched Seinfeld, Jess?
I haven't, no.
No worries, no worries. Okay, so there's a episode where one of the characters, George, is sitting around. He's like, I'm going to pitch you a TV show, Jerry. It's a show about nothing. And he's like, what do you mean it's a show about nothing? But what's ironic is he's basically describing Seinfeld. He's like, what did you do today, Jerry? And he's like, I went and got some coffee. He goes, that's an episode. You know, like, so what's funny is,
I love it.
that is what you can apply to your marketing, where it's essentially like whatever you've done through the week that is remotely active. I don't even have to call it entertaining, but just remotely, like, I went to this new restaurant. It was delicious. There's a way to pivot that story in a way where it's like, okay, you're communicating with your audience. They're seeing who you are. They're building that liking and, you know, affinity for you. And then as you kind of reach out to them just casually with these Seinfeld sequences, they're used to getting messages from you. Now you could start to go into what we talked about on the summit, which is more of your selling sequences, your soap opera sequences, things like that. So those two things can kind of work in hand. When you're not selling an offer, you can go and just reach out, communicate with them. I like to throw call to actions in every email, no matter what. So sometimes the call to action is go check out this Facebook post. Sometimes the call to action is here's a link to buy something. It can be anything you want, but you want to fundamentally condition your audience to want to click the things that are in your email, even when the stakes are low, because when the stakes are high, that sort of momentum and habit forming around your emails is still there, and it can kind of help out a little bit. So, you know, it's a little bit of, you know, some persuasion stuff going on, but it's really, really helpful getting people to like, hey, the people I want in this list are people who I want to click on my stuff all the time.
Right.
So if you get people that they're like, oh, he's always asking me to click on something, Dax is always asking me to do something, they may leave, and that's okay. Make peace with unsubscribes now. They will happen.
Is good. That is good. A good point. It's like, make peace with it. Like, don't read into it. Just let people make their choices in life. Be you.
Exactly. Because you be you, and you attract the people who are going to be on that mission with you. Right. Some fans, God bless them, it's not anything against them, but they're just more fair weather fans of yours. And that's okay. Every audience of every artist, you've got the core people that are like checking out everything. I'm liking all the posts, buying all the merch. And then you got the fans that listen to you like once or twice a month. So if you get some of those fans into your email list and they're like, oh, they're like promoting too frequent for my taste, and they unsubscribe, it's not even that they don't like you anymore. It's just that particular medium is not their cup of tea with you.
Right.
But if you get your core 1,000, as most people talk about, the core 1,000 fans, can be more than that. But, you know, you get that core fan base in there. Now your email list is basically the highest quality leads, so to speak, for whatever your offers are, because they're the people that respond, you know, as opposed to the people that go, I'm not sure.
Right.
So, yeah,
make peace with those unsubscribes. Anyways, if they're the people that are like, I kind of like them, kind of don't. Like, you just want your core fans on your email list, right? Because they're the ones that buy. So that's a great point. Just make peace with it. Like, everybody else can follow you on social media, and their commitment to you is that, you know, like, they don't, you know, sometimes they might care, sometimes they might not. But you're going to focus on the people that have responded and respond to your stories and how you lead and all of that. So that's great. P.S. Everyone's like, Jess, you got to watch Seinfeld. We have Karen, Evan popped on. He was like, Jess, you got to watch Seinfeld. Everyone's like, watch Seinfeld. Apparently it's about nothing. So you guys got to enroll me a little bit better than that. But
I didn't sell it very well, did I, with that?
No.
It's a good nothing. No,
it's a good nothing. Okay, no. All right. I'm open.
Yeah, give it a shot. You know?
Okay, I'm sure there's many lessons from Seinfeld. So this is great. So, you know, if you were going to walk someone with through, I mean, we did this on my summit, and P.S. You guys are the only ones who know. There's another summit coming up. Daxton's going to be on it. It's going to be sometime in May. Be on the lookout. So, and we go into like an in-depth training of how to do this, but we have, you know, a limited amount of time on this live, and then we jump into my private community at around 10:30, so about 30 minutes in. So if you really want to know more about Daxton and how he does this, we're going to give a little snippet right now, but definitely follow Daxton on his Instagram and TikTok. And come see him on the summit in May. But can you say your Instagram and TikTok?
Yeah, for sure. My Instagram is at Daxton Page. And then my TikTok is basically the same thing, except you have a period in between Daxton Page. So Daxton.page is my TikTok.
Okay, cool. Follow Daxton. He's got all the great teachings. So that being said, let's talk about how an artist can apply this information right away. I know we had our session on Friday, and I wrote a whole sequence for my music video that's coming out. So you guys watch what I do this week. Watch what I do. I'm going to be posting and emailing my sequence that I created with Daxton. But let's just walk people through quickly how we created that. So I have a music video coming out on Friday, and you were like, great, because we met on Friday. You were like, great, let's do this. And you asked me some questions. So what were the questions that you asked me? We'll do it very quickly.
If I remember correctly, I was asking, okay, what was the moment of inspiration that caused you to write this song? Okay. And from that point, you started talking about, like, this is what the song is generally about. And so I was like, okay, this is good. We're getting an idea of, this is the what's the word I'm looking for? The moral of the story, right? This is what the song is about. But I was like, can you dive into a specific instance in your life where that situation happened. So at first, as most people will do, when I say, what inspired you to write this song? What tends to come out is the inspiration for the song, but what you really want to identify is the experience, the moment in time
Yeah, I
that
did.
happened.
I was like, the first thing I said was, it's about finding your voice.
Yeah.
It's like, so like
It's a little general.
general,
It's a
exactly.
little,
It's
yeah.
like, it's
But when
about
you get
finding your
specific
voice.
with that, funny enough, people can relate to that specificity because they can relate to being in, you were talking about you were 8 years old and you were in class and you were nervous about like a test that was happening and that was psyching you out. And then the teacher was making it worse. And it's like, how many people have been in school and been nervous sitting there, not feeling like they're not comfortable with themselves or they're not confident. And so I was like, yeah, that right there is beautiful. Because
Yeah.
now I'm in your shoes. I'm like feeling what you feel.
It was interesting because I had a limiting belief that, because I was 8, that's not when I wrote the song, so it didn't count. And it's like, no, actually, like that story from when I was 8 plays over and over again. And the song about finding my voice started when I was 8. So like, I love that you brought that out of me because it was very like, I almost didn't give myself permission to go that far back. Right.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people struggle with storytelling, like, wow, I don't really want to share everything that's going on in my life. Maybe you're not ready to share it publicly. You
Yeah.
can go back to when you were 8 and it all first started. And,
Yes,
it's
absolutely. As long as you're vulnerable, as long as and that's the tough thing that I know a lot of people struggle with is being vulnerable to a mass of people. Because guess what? There'll be some haters every now and then.
yeah.
But that's okay. That means you're doing something good. That's what I think, at least. When I get haters, I'm like, hey, they cared enough to comment. I'm doing good. But if you're vulnerable, the people that are going to connect with you are going to really connect with you. Because
Right.
as artists, I've seen this in my own life. Sometimes as artists, what we try to do is always show our best foot. We always put our best foot forward on social media.
Right.
And really, that can be cool from like an ego perspective. But the audience viewing it can look a little bit distanced from it. Like, I'm professional. I'm always professional. I never do anything wrong. It's always super cool content. But if you're just like, man, this one time, like I went through a breakup and it just wrecked me, and you go into that experience and how that formed a song or whatever this experience is, right?
Right.
Now the audience is like, whoa, they're a person.
Right.
It's not just the persona that the audience interacts with, which is that polished, never mess up version of ourselves, but when they interact with you, the artist, and your vulnerabilities and like your fears and your doubts and the things that you've gone through, that is way more relatable. I can actually look at that person and go, heck yeah, I kind of feel like we're friends, even though we're not. Like,
Yeah.
I know you've never met me, but I feel like that connection. It's kind of a weird thing where I'm fans of bands and I feel that connection. And even though I've never met them, but their music hit me in such a place that I was like, dude, you were speaking to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah.
I'm a typical emo artist. I love sad songs, but I think of all my favorite artists, and they were like, they were very relatable, vulnerable, broken even, and
being honest and authentic with that.
Yeah.
With where you're at whenever you're writing that music. Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
and I love that a song is just a moment in time.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you necessarily still struggle with what you struggled with then, or it's the same struggle that you're having now, but like that moment in time is relatable.
Yes.
And so if we can do that service to someone and let them be seen in that moment, I think that's why we all are artists. By the way, Daxton's a rocker. Can you tell?
What gave it away?
I know. Guitarist for a rock band, but I don't know. Is that the reason why you got into art? Because that's the reason I got into it.
I got into art because of my connection with the art form. I know how music has made me feel when I listened. Like, I remember being, oh gosh, I'm dating myself a little bit here, but I was about 4 or 5 years old and Linkin Park's first record came out.
Okay.
And I remember listening to that as a kid, and it was so angsty and so melodic at the same time. And there was rap elements and rock elements. And I just remember just like, God, every song, I just feel that. And so, for me as a young kid, like I just loved the feeling that music gave me. And then once I got to create music, learning how to play my instrument, now it's like, oh, great, I can do this same thing for other people. You know, I can give them goosebumps. I can make them cry. I can make them smile based on my music. So yeah, like affecting, you know, me and my singer, we talk about this all the time, is we always try to have like a silver lining in our music, which is that thing that even if you're talking about something that's really tough and dark, trying to give that glimmer of hope, you know, because ultimately music is very impactful on our psyches and our subconscious. And so we try to do a lot to make sure that we serve at the highest level with our music. And that's one of the things that's really driven me, you know, because I see the comments from the fans that say, I needed to hear this song at this moment in time. And I'm like, that's the best. That beats, you know, like last Saturday, we played a show and you know, we had a great showing and made some money. That's all great. But when you know that you've impacted somebody's life in a positive way, that is just the tops. That is the best.
I'm so glad you said that, because if we can learn how to tell stories that enhance our music, if we can do the work and learn the skill to communicate well, that is true service. Like if you truly believe that you are a career indie musician, this is your job.
Yeah.
Learn how to communicate these things, because your audience, literally, it could even be life or death sometimes. Like your audience follows your music, especially your super fans, because you are them and they are you in some ways. Like you said, you feel like you're friends, but you may have never met. You know, like that's a really powerful connection. Like, have you ever thought about that?
It's a responsibility that like I take very seriously, and that's why we have like that wasn't always the case from day one. We started writing songs just to write songs, and I look back at some of those songs and I'm like, man, we could have maybe done a little bit better to be more like responsible with our position, so to speak. And that's really what got me to like, it's like Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility, you know?
Seen that one.
it's that fundamentally. So I really take it seriously, so that when we write music, I'll often ask like our singer, I'll be like, is there a way we can phrase it that like maybe like, you know, makes the situation less negative, you know, less like focusing on the negative and more like, how do we get out of the negative? How do we like, what's the trajectory up, out, as opposed to wallowing and ruminating in the negativity? Yeah.
Well, and we have to do that work for ourselves personally, right? Because I think that's when I haven't felt ready to share things publicly, like in a story, because I hadn't done the work to get out of the ruminating or out of the darkness yet. And I think it is our responsibility, even as a musician and a leader and an influencer. It's like, okay, actually part of our work is to do it ourselves and become the person that we want to be, so that we can lead our fans in that direction. And then we got to learn how to communicate that process to them. You know, like that is really what we're here, because I know artists like struggle with being vulnerable because they feel like they're just a pity party. Maybe you are a pity party. You need to do some work on yourself. You know what I mean? But I have a feeling every artist that follows me is a very mission, purpose driven, oriented artist. I have a feeling you aren't a pity party. If you truly do the work to learn to communicate out of it.
Yes. And one thing I'll add to what Jess is saying there, which is so powerful, it's like, if you communicate it in a way, for example, I've seen artists be like, man, just the modern status of social media, artists are expected to do all this stuff. That is going to make a fan just kind of be like, that sucks. But there's no real like getting them on your side, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If I'm going to explain, like if something in the music industry is rough, I'll explain the problem, but I'll spend more time focusing on, okay, because that thing sucks, here's what we do better, or here's how we do it differently.
Yeah.
And when you do that, now your audience, not only they understand the position you're in, but they understand what to do about it. that is the worst place to be in as a fan, where the artist just dumped all their problems on you and
Yeah.
gave you no way to help them.
Nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that. But if you go through it and you like explain, this is the issue, here's how you guys can help us, and you're positive about how they can help you.
Yeah.
That is way more influential, way more persuasive than trying to just like feel sorry for me, listen to my stuff.
Yeah. No.
Most people are like, dude, you haven't made me really, like you haven't brought out why I should care. What am I going to do that's really going to make a difference in that, So
Yeah, and I think that's another fear, is coming off needy, right? Like as a salesperson, or like, oh my gosh, they're gonna think I'm needy. Crowdfunding really brings this out of people, because they're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna ask
For
people
money.
to support me with money. What? And then all the fears just start coming. It's like, look, if you're having those thoughts, you are not leading an audience to a solution. You're being needy. You're being a taker. You're not generous. Like, get out of that and start thinking like a generous leader, a service-driven person. Lead people, like lead them.
Oh, for sure. Like, and if anybody out there is watching and they're feeling nervous about charging money for products or their music or whatever, I think about it like this. To me, good music enhances somebody's life. Just like if I went to a personal trainer, that would enhance my health. So that personal trainer should feel no shame in charging money for a service that's going to make me better. So for you as an artist, you're like medicine for the soul, So don't feel weird or shy charging money for what you do, because what you do is insanely valuable. I mean, I would care to argue that like maybe half or more of our culture is built around music and entertainment. So what you do is insanely valuable.
Yeah.
Most people just, for instance, my band, when we were putting together VIP tickets for our shows, our local shows, there was this thought of, should we even charge VIP? Because we're not insert giant rock band. We're not Kiss. We're not whoever. Yeah. But I'm like, but to some people, I know this is weird, to some people we are.
Yeah.
So like, I would never think that I'm as big as Kiss, because that's not how I feel about me. But I know some people look at my music the way I look at my favorite artist's music.
Right.
And when you look at your favorite artist, do you feel weird buying their stuff? No, you want it. You're like, I gotta get this shirt. I gotta get this vinyl.
I'm obsessed.
I need it tomorrow. Expedite the shipping. But like, that is how you like. That excitement that you feel about purchasing your favorite band's merchandise is what your fans will go through purchasing your stuff.
Yeah.
So don't feel shy. I've even had fans message me and be like, what's more ways that I can support you? And they go, awesome. And they're like, listen, I know I can stream on Spotify. I know I can like the content. What else can I do? And I'm like, the next step there is.
I love that, because people are getting more educated. Spotify doesn't pay anybody, like any indie artist. I mean, yeah, unless you have millions and millions of streams, but like, yeah, nobody's getting paid off of Spotify. I love that. What a generous fan, like what a generous
no kidding. Yeah.
human being in the planet. Like, that's who you want to attract to your fan base.
And just so you know, everyone out there, that's happened more than once. I've had fans come up to me online and in person and say, what is the best way I can support you? And I literally almost threw hundreds of dollars down the toilet by being too humble about it.
Woo,
I had a fan come up and they were like, what's the best way I can support you? And it was at a show. So I was like, oh, you can buy some merch. And he goes, yeah, I know that's good, but what's the best thing I could do? And I was like, the best thing you can do? I was like, well, we have a fan club, and the top tier of our fan club is $35 a month. It's changed since then, but at the time it was like $35 a month. And he goes, sure, sign me up. I signed him up right there. And he was with us for like a year and a half.
Wow.
And I was blown away, because this was like a guy who I was like, okay, so you're at our top tier. So you're going to be playing Xbox Live with us and hopping on Zoom calls. He's like, I'm not doing any of that. I just want to support you.
Yeah. I love that.
I was like, well, if that's what you want to do, man, I'm like, thank you. That's what you say after that, ladies and gentlemen. You say, thank you.
Being in this place of receiving, like, that's something that I harp on a lot. Like, generosity is giving and receiving. Like, you must receive.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's like your audience would be taking and you would be giving, and there would be no reciprocity there. It would just be
Yeah.
a one-sided thing.
And the world shouldn't work, or I mean, like, it doesn't work that way. I don't
Yeah.
think the outer laws of space or whatever, if you want to
No,
get
no,
all
for sure.
etherical, but yeah, I love that. So we've got to go. We've got to jump into our one-on-one group, and exciting. I mean, this has just been such a great conversation. Thank you for just giving value, Daxton.
Yeah,
And we're gonna, if you want to hear more from Daxton, we're going to be doing a summit coming up in May, so you can hear more of his story. You can also follow Daxton at his Instagram page and his TikTok page. He's pretty active on both those venues. And give him a follow. Even send him a DM being like, how can I support you? Because apparently, like, we got lots of people stepping into that realm. And like, if only like we could step into that level of generosity as much as your fan did. What a great example. So thank you so much, Daxton.
Thank you,
And
Jess.
and yeah, tune in, guys. Let me know if you have any questions, like DM me or Daxton, or put it in the chat right now. We can answer it real quickly. But we're gonna jump into our one-on-ones, and we'll see you guys soon.
See you
Bye.
there, everybody.